Hi there, welcome back to the YouTube channel, and today's deck tech is all about this thing. Tergrid, God of Fright. 3 and double black for a 4/5 god, has menace, and whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent or discards a permanent card, you get to grab that from their graveyard and put it under their control. Or you play the Lantern, which is black and 3, and target player loses 3 life unless they sacrifice a non-land permanent or discard a card, and you can pay 3 and it's black to untap Tergrid's Lantern and do it all over again. You're probably wondering why I'm playing this while I'm even recording this video. Very simple. One of my lovely moderators on my stream, ZacofRivia, challenged me to build it on stream. Didn't actually build it, didn't show it being built on stream, so I was in the middle of a game. But I built it while I was playing the first game last week, and then thought, well, I've built this deck now. I've never talked about Tergrid before, so we might as well do the deck tech on it. So here we go. This is what today's deck really looks like in real life. As usual, one of my deck techs, start with the mana bases that I've got set up. So this is all black lands with a few colourless in. The Arc of Volcansas here, so we can draw some cards. Brad do, because you will be killing creatures, and it's if a creature died this turn, so you can get a bit of a massing of orcs going on if you want to. Blighted Fen gives you a way of making your opponent sacrifice a creature, which if you've got Tergrid out means you then get that creature. Bonder's Enclave, so you can draw some cards because you will have a creature with power 4 or more, because you know Tergrid naturally is power 4 or more if you played that side. Obviously we've got all the ones that ramp up our lands, so we've got Cabal Coffers, Cabal Stronghold, we've got Nykthos here because it's a monocolour deck. I'm playing all snow-covered swamps because I am playing Faceless Haven. Fable Passage will go and fetch us one of them. Field of the Dead's here just to make sure that we can get some more zombies out if we need to, because that's why we're playing all the lands as they are. And down the bottom somewhere, Urborg's here, and then I've also got Urza's Mine, Power Plant, Tower. I think you can afford to do it in this deck, and I'll come to the reasons as to why. Artifact Ramped, not mucking around with this today, really not. So obviously MTGO cheaper, real life expensive. Bear that in mind when you're looking at the deck list that's down below. Mox Tantalite, Soul Talisman, Jeweled Lotus, Mana Crypt, Mana Vault, Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Charcoal Diamond, Jet Medallion, and Extra Planar Lens. They're all here for this deck. We want to be getting lots and lots of black mana as soon as possible, and there are reasons as to why we're doing this, which will hopefully become visible in a minute when we get to them. So, the rest of the deck, the ramp is all 0 or 1. Then so we start the 2 drops. Blood Artist for creatures that may be killed, along with Blood Seeker. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under opponent's control, you may have that opponent lose 1 life. Or that player. Yes, you're just going to auto yield to this on MTGO. Cabal Ritual just gives us a little bit of mana, and Threshold hopefully we'll get there. Chainer's Edict, Liliana's Triumph, make people sacrifice creatures. Liliana's Triumph slightly better because each opponent has to sacrifice one. It's even better if you've got one of the Liliana Planeswalkers in play coming up, because then they have to discard as well, so you might end up with a whole load of permanents if you're casting this after Tergrid's in play. Edict's okay, takes out hopefully someone's creatures, and then you can flash it back. Again, it's only a target player. When this was originally came out in Judgment, I want to say. This is Dominaria Remastered, but I think it was Judgment when we originally saw the Edict. You didn't really have EDH, they weren't really building for it then. Anyway, Zulaport Cutthroat, creatures die, everyone loses one, you gain one, so nice easier version to play than the Blood Artist. Arcane Signet, Diamond Mare I will mention. I wanted some way of gaining some life in a black deck, and this is quite easily the most logical, easiest way of doing it. Just name black. Every time you cast a black spell, you gain a life. Fine by me. 3 drops. They're all here. All the creatures that come into play and cause each player to sacrifice creatures appear. So Fleshblag, Gravelighter, Merciless Executioner, and Plaguecrafter all make an appearance in this deck. In addition, we've got Oath of Liliana, which might as well be Plaguecrafter number 4, but it stays in play as an enchantment and has a benefit with some of the Planeswalkers we have coming up. Soul Shatter. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker with the highest mana value. So you're going to have some big stuff if you do this when Tergrid's in play. Same with To the Slaughter, but this is just target player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. And if you 4 or more cards in your graveyard amongst the types, their player sacrifices both. It's not an or ability, it becomes an and ability, which is quite nice for some reason. Braid's a Risen Nightmare. If you want to sacrifice your own stuff and make people sacrifice things, that's all well and good. And Liliana of the Veil. I went and picked one up especially for this deck for the -2. Target player sacks a creature. Or +1 each player discards a card. Even better, especially if they've only got a couple of cards left in hand. You might get something good. Ariar, first of a Lockthwain, also makes an appearance, just so we can do a little bit of life gain and life draining. Over in the 4-drops, Disciple of Bolus, enters the battlefield, sacrifice another creature. Yeah, okay, I'll sacrifice Tergrid if I need to, gain 4 life, draw 4 cards, that's fine by me. Vindictive Leech makes an appearance from Commander-led Masters, there we go. Dies, choose 1 or more, each mode must target a different player. One opponent can sack 1, one can discard 2, and someone else can lose 5. Hit all your opponents with it. Damnation gives a bit of board control. The Invasion of Innistrad gives something -13, -13. And hopefully we'll be able to flick it to get the zombies and then start exiling things and get some beaters that way. Bloodsetter of Alcazalza also appears because we like making people lose twice that much life instead. Grave Pact. One of our creatures dies, everyone has to sacrifice 1. Yeah, okay then, you can all sacrifice 1 and I'll have those creatures on my side under Tergrid's control. Thank you very much, I'm happy with that. Cheers. Phyrexian Obliterator is probably the best way of getting people to sacrifice things ever happening. Because they have to be permanent, so they can't be anything else. So if people deal damage to this, they are sacrificing their entire board and you're gaining it as long as Tergrid's in play. Even if Tergrid gets killed off, the trigger still stacks, you get the triggers, so it's all good. Helm of the Host, just a way of giving you multiple copies of things. You know, don't need 2 Tergrids, but having multiple Phyrexian Horrors or some of the other creatures what coming up, or Bloodletters, not the worst plan in the world. Roaming Throne, choose a creature type. You will probably choose God, to be honest. Or you can choose one of the other creature types. It's not too bad choosing Horror, I must admit. Which is good fun. I've put it in because I just like Roaming Throne. I just thought I'd try it in this deck. Magus of the Coffers, another way of getting more mana if we need to. We all know what it does. Anowin and the Rune Sage, at the beginning of your upkeep, each player sacrifices a non-vampire creature. Okay, so you have to sacrifice one of your creatures. Oh well, there be it. Hopefully you nick one of theirs and sacrificing that off to them. Archfiend of Depravity, at the beginning of each opponent's end step, that player chooses up to 2 creatures they control and sacks the rest. Okay, thank you. Archpriest of Shadows, Death Touch, backup. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player or battle, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Okay. Dictate of Erebos is another way of making sure that when your creatures die, everyone has to sack once you get the replacements. From the Catacombs, just a nice way of getting the initiative. We're not really going down the whole let's have the initiative every turn in this deck, but maybe go and search a land out, get a creature. We'll cope with that. And if we have to escape it every so often, so be it. Junie in the Midnight Sky, everyone has to discard 2 and lose 2 life. You get their cards they discard, which is lovely. Liana Vess, obviously another discard outlet. Massacre Girl helps us control the board by giving everything -1/-1. Sheldred's here from March of the Machines. Is this one? I've forgotten now. Yes. Enters the battlefield. Each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature or planeswalker. Make sure you play this after Tergrid's in play. I keep going to say this. You need Tergrid in play to make this work. Tergrid Shadow, each player sacrifices 2 creatures. Just foretell it for 2. And then play it for 4 when you need it to happen. And the Witch King of Angmar. Whenever one or more creatures deal combat damage to you, each opponent sacrifices a creature that dealt damage to you this turn. And the ring tempts you. So they sack their creatures, you get them back on your side. Yeah, you may be taking a lot of damage, but hopefully you'll get the creatures. And a little bit of ring tempting is not the worst thing. Abyssal Gorestalker is quite good fun, coming in from our new set, Lost Caverns of Ixalan. Comes into play, each player sacrifices 2 creatures, so you sack this and one of your lesser needed creatures. They sacrifice 2 of their creatures and you nick them with Tergrid's in play, which hopefully it will be. Capital punishment, starting with you. Each opponent votes death or taxes. You just make sure you vote taxes on this to make sure they discard stuff. People will vote for the death vote and sacrifice token creatures. I've seen it happen with this deck already. Grave Titan is just here as a beta. Kukushko, because it's mono black deck, and why would you not play Kukushko? Professor Onyx is here for the -3 ability. Each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power. So get some around sacrificing their token creatures, and you get them on your side with Tergrid in play. Rakasha Debaser, just in case they have got things in the graveyard you want to nick. Taste the Death, each player sacrifices 3 creatures, you create 3 food tokens. It gives you way to gain some life if you need it. Grave Betrayal, anything that's gone to the graveyard that hasn't been hit by Tergrid gives you a chance of getting it back on your side. Herald of Anguish, at the end of your beginning of your end step, each opponent discards a card, so repeated discard and you get to improvise it if you really want to. But again, great thing to have in play when you've got Tergrid. I'm going to stop saying it now, sorry. Sheldred, sack a creature, get one back from the graveyard. Yep, okay. Virtue of Persistence does exactly the same thing, but it gives you a -3/-3 at some stage and you gain 2 life, which is nice. Bringer of the Last Gift from the Lost Caverns of Ixalan enters the battlefield if you cast it. Everyone sacks everything, and then each player returns all creature cards from their graveyard that weren't put there this way onto the battlefield. Now, this is quite interesting because obviously they sack everything. You get all the stack triggers for Tergrid, so hopefully you get all those creatures back. And then hopefully they haven't got much in their graveyards because you've already nicked it, so they're not getting a lot back. Hopefully. Who knows? But I figured if there's a mono black deck that everything was going to work, and this was the one to have it in. Last 2 cards. Portals for Phyrexia, because yes, why wouldn't you? And obviously our big win card at the end here for me is Torment of Hailfire. Yeah, they are going to sack all the permanents you're going to get them, or they're just going to die to the life loss if you've got Tergrid in play. Sorry, I said it again. Said I wasn't going to. But that's it. That is my take on Tergrid. I think it's one of the more powerful decks I've done recently on here. It is a pain to play against. I've dreaded on stream playing against Tergrid for a year and a bit now. And whenever it turns up, I seem to lose to it, and I've just avoided doing it for some reason. But hey, since Zach challenged me to do it, I did it, and here it is. So I hope you have some fun with it. It gives you an idea of a starting point. There probably are cards I've missed out, and I know there are some cards that do sacrificing things that aren't on MTGO yet. I'm thinking of some of the cards from the 40k sets and the Doctor Who sets, so you may want to look at them and put some of them in here if they're mono black. I know there's at least 1 or 2 in the Necron deck that can do this, so they may be interesting inputs into this if you build it in real life. And if they ever get them on MTGO, I'll do a deck update and put it in. But that's it for now. Hopefully you've hit the subscribe button that's appeared down here below me. You're going to come and follow me on my stream over here. We're sitting at 208 followers on Twitch, so a few more is always nice over there if you come and give me a follow over there. And yeah, you'll see me play this deck at some stage when someone tells me to play a competitive deck. So bear that in mind, and I'll see you all soon on the YouTube channel. Take care. See you soon. Have a great day. Bye. Oh, and Happy New Year.